And then we read about the blessing and the curse in Deuteronomy 28. You know, one of the titles for Messiah was the accursed one. The Didache refers to Messiah as the accursed one. Why would he be the accursed one? Well, he's the one that, just as we read about in Deuteronomy 27, and Rav Shaul points back to this in Galatians, he who, and this is in 2 Corinthians, but it says, he who knew no sin became sin for us, that we might become the righteousness of God in him. You see, Yeshua took the curse that was due to you and I. And I love how the Haftorah today talks about, it begins with this section of, arise, your light has come, and the glory of the Lord is revealed to you. And Rav Shaul makes the drash on this in Ephesians once again, and he says, arise, O sleeper, and awaken from your sleep, and the light of Messiah will shine on you. And this is Rav Shaul taking today's Haftorah and putting it in context of Yeshua. And so it's a beautiful siddur, it's a beautiful passage, and then we read about, today in Luke, we read about the resurrection. And I'm going to allude to that as how this also ties in. But we've been going through the book of Acts. And I want to transition. I'm going to use a little bit of an illustration. Well, I said illustration, just a visual today. And so I'm going to use this here. And someone said, what in the world is he going to do? He's not going to actually light this on Shabbat, is he? But I'm going to go ahead and test your knowledge. So I'm going to place this up here. All right, so for those of you, and you all should know the answer to this, okay? We need to have a Shabbaton on Shabbat about Shabbat if we don't, right? So what do we have here? Shabbat candles and Havdalah, right? Okay, Havdalah. I forget. I had to go back and look at the Hebrew where you put the accent on that. Is it a $50 or is it Havdalah? So I don't know, but so we got the Shabbat candles, and then we've got Havdalah. And so we think about Shabbat. I mean, why do we use the two candles? We bring into the light, but what does it go back? Why two candles? Why two candles? It really goes back to the commandments of Shabbat, right? Remember and keep. Remember and keep. You think about that, right? So the tradition is one of the ways. So any tradition that you have in Judaism is always supposed to point you, if it's doing the right thing, back to the actual commandment of what it's supposed to represent. And there's another explanation of this as well, though. What do we always recognize? What are the two motifs? What are the two major themes of Shabbat? Anybody remember? Okay. So we go back to this, and you look at this. Genesis, Bereshit, is the book of creation. And Shemot, Exodus, is the book of redemption. You read Psalm 136, it's called the Great Hallel, and it's read every Shabbat in the synagogue. And it recalls God's mighty acts and his works. It starts with creation, and then it goes to redemption. You see, because every Shabbat, and we talk about it during the Amidah prayer, every Shabbat, what do? We think back to creation because God rested on the seventh day. He created. We're reminded that God is Almighty Creator. Every blessing, we always say, Baruch atah Adonai melech haolam, King of the universe. God is the author of creation. We also are reminded, too, as well, that as God created, and we go to Shemot, and we go to the book of Exodus, what did they not do? What were they not able to do when they were enslaved? They weren't able to keep Shabbat. And what's the first thing that God does as he brings them out after the splitting of the Sea of Suf in Shemot 15, the Song of the Sea? First thing that God does is he reinstitutes, or he institutes the Shabbat for them, right? He gives them the manna, and of course he gives them Shabbat. This is before the Ten Commandments, so it's supposed to be a reminder of redemption. Every Shabbat we are reminded of creation and redemption. So as we bring those two candles in, and as we light those candles, we're reminded of the commandment to remember and to keep. And we're also reminded that God is a God who creates, and God is a God who redeems.